I thought about this video long and hard before recording this because I don't ever want to make a video where I'm not at least attempting to make myself as clear as possible. All right. Uh, First of all, I might have said this in comments sometimes. I don't really mean it about Joe Johnson. I might have said he's overrated. Joe Johnson's not overrated because to be overrated, the perception of that player has to be to a degree where the perception is exponentially superior to what the player actually produces on a day-to-day basis, year in and year out. Nobody says that Joe Johnson was the best shooting guard in the league or the best small forward in the league, so I can't say that he's overrated. I don't even want to say he was overpaid. I don't like to say that, even though sometimes we all think it about certain players. Um, Overvalued, yeah. Um, this is my thing about Joe Johnson, man. He's a very good basketball player, um, fine offensive player. All right, could score in the post. All right. In his younger days, he had a little bit of hops, had some explosiveness. He's a fine mid-range shooter, a great outside shooter. Um, but this is my thing about Joe Johnson, okay? And most likely he's going to be in the Hall of Fame because the Hall of Fame has been so devalued now, and it's more the Hall of Very Good. I use Mitch Richmond as a barometer. Um, I think the only NBA player to score 20,000 points who's not in the Hall, if I'm not mistaken, is Tom Chambers. And I wouldn't be surprised if eventually Tom Chambers got in. Of course, Joe Johnson, I think it was last season or the year prior. Might have been the year prior. Uh, was it the year prior? I can't remember which year it was, but recently he surpassed 20,000 career points. I want to say it was the year prior, but anyway. Um, so I think being the way that the Hall is now, he'll probably get in. Um, Joe Johnson, has a reputation also being a clutch player and things. But this is my thing. At one point in time, Joe Johnson was the highest paid player in the NBA. And I remember he signed a large contract with the Atlanta Hawks. And if I'm not mistaken, it came after he had a career high season for the Hawks, averaging like 25 points a game. I might be wrong in that, but I think that's correct. And the what I took from that was I thought that Joe Johnson was going to bring his game to another level. I thought he was going to be a guy that was going to be putting up 25, 26 points a game, but he regressed down to being more of a 21, 20 points per game, 19 points per game guy. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're the highest paid player in the NBA, I mean, I don't know. You just kind of expect a superstar caliber player. And you can't blame that on Joe Johnson. You have to blame it on the organization. Joe Johnson, Mike Conley, these guys, they're good players. They're very good players. But I just don't think they deserve. I don't want to say deserve. When you see a player earn max contract money, you tend to think that they're players who are the very best at their position. And I never in his career Joe Johnson. I think he's been in the NBA for 15, 16 seasons. I don't think he's playing now in the NBA, but this guy's been in the league for like 16 years or something like that. 15, 16 years. And never have I ever considered him one of the best elite players in his position, whether it's shooting guard or later on in his career being small forward. Never. I never thought of him when I thought of the best shooting guards in the league, and I never thought of him when it came to the best small forwards. Never. Now, he did make 7 All-Star appearances, more than Reggie Miller, but you have to take into account that when Joe Johnson was in his prime in the 2000s and maybe very early 2010s, he didn't have a lot of competition in the East either at shooting guard. And I believe he's only made one All-NBA team throughout his entire career, which is very poor. All right. So I don't know, man. I'm not hating on the guy, but I just have to kind of put his career into perspective when it comes to how I sometimes hear people talk about him. I also have to say that as good as a scorer as he is, and he is a good scorer, I don't know whether or not Joe Johnson is the type of player who automatically makes his team better by him being on the team. You know what I mean? Like, he has been on some good teams. He was on that 2004-2005 Suns team that I think won 62 ball games. And as a direct result of the team winning 62 games, that was one of the reasons why ultimately he left the Suns, because he felt that the Suns were disrespecting him by not giving him the money that he thought he was worth. The Suns organization ultimately made the right decision because, in my opinion, Joe Johnson's a good player, a good scorer, but he's not the type of guy you can build a championship around. To me now, I think Joe Johnson is a better second option than the first option. I think he's better than Rudy Gay. You know, Rudy Gay never played defense, never does play defense. So Joe Johnson is a better player than Rudy Gay, but I just don't know whether Joe Johnson was ever the type of guy that you could build a team around. You know, I think he's an excellent second option on any team that wants to make it to the playoffs or beyond. That's my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, and there'll be people who will disagree with me in the comment section. I understand that. But like I said, I'm not hating on Joe Johnson or anything like that. But I just think that sometimes when you look at how he's talked about by some analysts, you know, I don't know. I just kind of get the impression that he's a little bit overrated. As a matter of fact, when I think about his career, right? Think about Joe Johnson's entire career, right? I think he came in with the Boston Celtics. And think about the Phoenix Suns. All right. Atlanta Hawks. Now remember, only a couple years after he signed that max deal with the Hawks, he was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn, Houston, Utah. Might be some teams he played for I can't think of right now. Of all those years, right, that he's played, all right, can you ever say that when he got on that team, they just dramatically, turned around. You know what I mean? I think the best role he ever had, one of the best roles he ever had, was when he was part of the ensemble in Phoenix, and when he was with the Utah Jazz in that specialty role. Like I said, I think whenever he's in those positions, when the pressure of leading a team is not totally on him, and he can do what he can do, he's great. But he was never a first option player to me. That's just me. I know some people are like, how can the hell can a guy who scored 20,000 points not be a first option? Well, that's just my opinion. I didn't say the guy couldn't score, but I just don't think that he's a franchise changing caliber guy. But that's my take on Joe Johnson. Tell me what you guys think.